Om Shri Sai Ram. Welcome to Sri Sathya Sai Loka Seva Gurukulam, secondary course NIOS English 202. Today we are going to read a heartwarming story, The Little Girl. Let me ask you a question first. Are all fathers alike? Here by alike, I don't mean the physical appearance, I mean the nature. I'm sure you all know that no, not at all. All fathers are not alike. Each one's father is different. So let's see what are the different kinds of fathers we all have. Some fathers are very interactive and play with their children and have fun with them, as you can see in the picture. They're always playing with the children, having a good time with the children, and the children are very happy to be in the company of their fathers. Now, there are some fathers who really don't have any time to spend for their children. Some fathers work hard to provide for their children. They have very little time for their children. They give their children only instructions and advice. They are working from morning till night trying to provide for the children. They want to give the children a good education. So they want to make sure they earn enough. So they are so busy earning the money for the children, they don't have any time to spend with the children. So that's another kind of father we have. Let's look at the third kind of fathers. Some fathers do both. They interact and play with their children and also discipline and advise them when necessary. So they are more balanced. And there might be some other kinds of fathers too, but these are the main kinds of fathers. I'm sure most of you have one kind of the father or the other. Let's do a short activity, shall we? Draw a picture of your father. Now, if you are not good at drawing, you can just imagine and draw something. Or you can just take a picture of your father. Write a short paragraph about him. Include his physical appearance and his nature. About 6 to 8 lines, 50 to 60 words should be good enough. All right? Now, let's read a story about the relationship between a little girl and her father. The Little Girl, that's the title of the story. Today we'll be doing part 1. To the little girl, he was a figure to be feared and avoided. So from the first sentence, we know that she was scared of him. She was very scared of him and she avoided him. When you're scared of something, we just keep away from that, right? So she was scared of the father and she kept away from him whenever she could. Every morning, before going to work, he came into her room and gave her a casual kiss. A casual kiss is a friendly, quick kiss, all right? To which she responded. Responded means reacted here with, "Goodbye, father." So he came and gave her a kiss and immediately she said goodbye. Because she was scared of him, she was happy when he left. And oh, the glad sense of relief when she heard the noise of the carriage growing fainter and fainter down the long road. So those days, they probably had carriages. It's kind of like a vehicle with maybe drawn by horses. And as the carriage moved away from the house, the sound of the carriage became less and less loud. That's what it means. Look at the use of the words here, fainter and fainter. When you want to stress something, that is how we use them. Remember in your first lesson, the snake bite, when Raja was bitten, grandfather thought that he had been bitten by a snake and he carried Raja and he ran and he ran. So we could have just used the word ran. When you say ran and ran, it gives stress to that. Just like if somebody keeps on eating, we say he ate and he ate. Like that, here they want to give the stress that the girl is very happy that her father has left. So, I'll read it again to you. To the little girl, he was a figure to be feared and avoided. So, first sentence tells us that he was scared of her. She was scared of him. Every morning, before going to work, he came into her room and gave her a casual kiss, to which she responded with, "Goodbye, father." And oh, the glad sense of relief when she heard the noise of the carriage growing fainter and fainter down the long road. She was very happy when the father went to work. Let's see what happens next. In the evening, so he went in the morning to work, came back in the evening. In the evening when he came home, she stood near the staircase and heard his loud voice in the hall. Bring my tea into the drawing room. Hasn't the paper come yet? Mother, go and see if my paper's out there and bring me my slippers. I'll read it again. In the evening, when he came home, she stood near the staircase and heard his loud voice in the hall. Bring my tea into the drawing room. Hasn't the paper come yet? Mother, go and see if my paper's out there and bring me my slippers. So you can see the father is kind of like a person who orders people around. Here, mother means his wife. Most people refer to their wives as mother. Actually, it means the mother of my child. All right. So he is ordering immediately, as soon as he comes, tells his wife, go and bring my tea, bring the newspaper, bring me my slippers. So he is ordering people around, and which scares the girl even more. Kezia, that's the name of the little girl. Kezia, mother would call her, if you are a good girl, you can come down and take off your father's boots. Slowly, the girl would slip down the stairs, more slowly still, across the hall, and push open the drawing room door. So if you really don't want to do something, you do it as slowly as possible. She did not want to go and take her father's boots out, so she was doing it as slowly as possible. So she came down the stairs and very slowly she came down the hall because she did not want to do this. By that time, he had his spectacles on. Spectacles means glasses. And looked at her over them in a way that was terrifying to the little girl. Well, Kezia, hurry up and pull off these boots and take them outside. Have you been a good girl today? I don't know, father. You don't know? If you stutter like that, mother will have to take you to the doctor. Read it once more. Kezia, mother would call her. If you are a good girl, you can come down and take off father's boots. Slowly, the girl would slip down the stairs, move slowly still across the hall, and push open the drawing room door. By that time, he had his spectacles on and looked at her over them in a way that was terrifying to the little girl. Well, Kezia, hurry up and pull off those boots and take them outside. Have you been a good girl today? I don't know, father. You don't know? If you stutter like that, mother will have to take you to the door, to the doctor. So here, stutter means like stammer. If you are very scared, a lot of times we stutter, and some children have that habit of stuttering, which they overcome after a while. But if you are scared, you always stutter, and because you are so worried that you'll make a mistake, you end up making more mistakes. So you can see the girl is so scared of the father. She is totally terrified. She never stuttered with other people, had quite given it up, but only with father, because then she was trying so hard to say the words properly. What's the matter? What are you looking so wretched about? Mother, I wish you teach this child not to appear on the brink of suicide. Here, Kezia, take my teacup back to the table carefully. He was so big, his hand and his neck, especially his mouth when he yawned. Thinking about him alone was like thinking about a giant. So you can see right through up till now that the girl is scared of him. So when you're scared of somebody, anything the person does is scary. So here, I'll read it once more. She never stuttered with other people. With other people, she spoke normally. Had quite given it up, but only with father, because then she was trying so hard to say the words properly. So she wanted to speak properly in front of her father because she was scared. And in the back of the mind, she is very worried she will make a mistake, and she makes mistakes. What's the matter? What are you looking so wretched about? Here, wretched means unhappy. So the father is asking, what's the matter with you? Why are you looking so unhappy? He doesn't know that he is the cause of her unhappiness. Otherwise, she's fine. Whenever she's with him, she's so scared that she looks like that. Mother, so now he's talking to his wife, I wish you teach this child not to appear on the brink of suicide. Yeah, what do you mean by brink of suicide? Brink of suicide means you're about to commit suicide. Suicide means kill yourself. So who kills themselves? Only when they are so unhappy with their lives. So he's comparing this girl's appearance like as if she's about to kill herself. She looks so unhappy. So he's asking his wife, just teach this child not to look like this. He doesn't realize that he is the cause of her looking like that. Here, Kezia, carry my teacup back to the table carefully. So you can see he's only ordering her around. He has not got one nice word to say to her. Everything is order. He was so big. So Kezia feels this way. His hands and his neck were very big. Especially his mouth when he yawned. Yawn is you open your mouth wide when you're feeling sleepy. That is yawning. Thinking about him alone was like thinking about a giant. So far we can see she's terrified for him. When she thinks of him, she thinks of some huge person, a giant. Giant is something very huge. On Sunday afternoons, grandmother sent her down to the drawing room to have a nice talk with father and mother. So Sunday is the day off for everyone. Father is at home. So grandmother tells Kezia, go and sit with your parents. Father and mother are in the drawing room. Go and have a nice talk with them. She wants them to have a good relationship. But the little girl always found mother reading and father stretched out on the sofa, his handkerchief on his face, his feet on one of the best cushions, sleeping soundly and snoring. She sat on a stool, gravely watched him until he woke and stretched and asked the time. Then looked at her. Don't stare so, Kezia. You look like a little brown owl. Let me read this again. So the grandmother wants her to spend some quality time with her parents, and Sunday is the only day when everyone is at home, and afternoon after lunch it's a relaxing time. So she tells Kezia, go and spend some time with your parents. She's not keen to do that because this is what happens. What do? They are not paying any attention to her. They are not trying to spend any time with her. But the little girl always found mother reading. So mother did not want to spend any time with her. She was reading something. And what was father doing? Father stretched out on his sofa. He was lying on the sofa just like in the picture. His handkerchief on his face. A lot of people put the handkerchief on the face so that the light doesn't bother them when they are sleeping. His feet on one of the best cushions. He was lying down with his feet on the nice cushions, sleeping soundly and snoring. Snoring is the sound you make when you are in deep sleep. She didn't know what to do, so she sat on a stool, gravely, means seriously, watching him until he woke and stretched. You wake up and you stretch your body and ask the time. First thing he woke up, he asked the time, and then he looked at her. Now, when you look at your child, how are you, darling? You would expect something like this. But look at this father. What does he say? Don't stare so, Kezia. You look like a little brown owl. So immediately he says something offensive to her. Don't stare like that. You look like a little brown owl. I hope you understood the story so far. How about a short quiz? Read the following statements and say whether they are true or false. I'm sure you'll get them all correct. Number 1, Kezia avoided her father. B, Kezia was happy when her father went off to work. Kezia's father was very loving. Kezia's mother was an obedient wife. Kezia's father made his own tea. So you have to tell me whether the statements are true or false. Take a piece of paper and please write down the answers. As you can see, why do we put "and" before obedient? Because obedient begins with a vowel sound, not vowel sound. So if a word begins with a vowel sound, we put "and" before it. Otherwise, we put "a." So have you written down the answers? If it's true, write as T. If it is false, write a F. A, B, C, D, E. Let's look at the first answer. Kezia avoided her father. We know this from the first sentence itself. She was very scared of him and she avoided him. So the answer is true. B, Kezia was happy when her father went off to work. We read that in the first paragraph too. She was so relieved when he left and went away. She was all alone, happy without a father. So that's also true. C, Kezia's father was very loving. From what we have read so far, he has not given one loving word to his daughter. So we know that that is not true. He was not very loving. It doesn't, see, when a person is not loving, don't think that they don't have love. Some people just don't know to express their love. So that can be the situation too, all right. D, Kezia's mother was an obedient wife. So the father orders her, bring me tea, bring me the newspaper. So he orders her around and she does it. She doesn't retaliate. So we know that she was an obedient wife, true. Kezia's father made his own tea. So he's asking his wife, bring me my tea, which means he's not making it himself. So that is false. So I'm sure all of you got 5 out of 5. Very good. Give yourselves a thumbs up, all right. Now let's continue the story. One day, when she was kept indoors with a cold, the grandmother told her that father's birthday was next week and suggested she should make him a pincushion for a gift out of a beautiful piece of yellow silk. So one day, she was kept indoors with a cold. That means she had a cold. Usually, I'm sure when you have a cold too, your mother or father will say, don't go out. You have to stay inside. You have to feel better. So she had a cold. And so her mother said, stay inside. And she reminded her, your father's birthday is next week. So why don't you make a gift for him? So she suggested, means she told her, why don't you do this? And she suggested that she should make him a pincushion for his birthday with some yellow silk. So she said, okay. Laboriously means with lot of difficulty. She's a little girl, remember, to stitch something, it takes her time. Laboriously with double cotton, the little girl stitched 3 sides. See, a pincushion is, you have to, it's like a square piece and inside you stuff something and then you stitch the 4th side. So she stitched the 3 sides, then she had to stuff something in and stitch up the 4th side. So laboriously with double cotton, the little girl stitched 3 sides. Double cotton means 2 pieces of cloth together. But what to fill it with? Now she stitched 3 sides. Now she had to fill it with something nice, right? Soft. So she was wondering what to fill it with. That was the question. The grandmother was out in the garden and she wandered into her mother's bedroom to look for scraps. She wanted to look for something with which she can fill up the cushion, pin cushion she was making. On the bed table, she discovered a great many sheets of fine paper, nice fine paper, gathered them up, tore them into tiny pieces and stuffed a case, then sewed up the 4th side like that. All right, all papers were lying there on the side of on the table. Let me read it one more time for you. Laboriously with double cotton, the little girl stitched 3 sides. So she stitched 3 sides of the pin cushion. But what to fill it with? She was wondering, what shall I fill this with? That was the question. The grandmother was out in the garden. She was outside, so she did not want to bother her. She did not want to go into the garden and ask her. So what did she do? She wandered into her mother's bedroom. She went into her mother's bedroom to look for scraps, for something to fill that pin cushion with. On the bed table, she discovered a great many sheets of fine paper. She saw lots of fine paper on the table, gathered them up. She took them up, tore them into tiny pieces because you need to have small pieces to fill into that case. And stuffed her case, then sewed up the 4th side. She stuffed everything in and then stitched the 4th side to make it into a nice pin cushion. That night, there was a hue and cry in the house. Father's great speech for the Port Authority had been lost. Rooms were searched, servants questioned. Finally, mother came into Kezia's room. Kezia, I suppose you didn't see some papers on a table in our room. Oh yes, she said. I tore them up for my surprise. What? Screamed mother. Come straight down to the dining room this instant. I'll read it once more. That night, there was a hue and cry in the house. That means there was a loud noise. There was an uproar in the house. Father's great speech for the port authority had been lost. Father had written a speech for some important meeting at the port authority, could not find it. It had been lost. Rooms were searched. People searched for them everywhere. Servants questioned. They asked the servants, did you see it? Have you seen where it went? Finally, in the end, mother came into Kezia's room. She came to Kezia's room. Kezia, I suppose you didn't see some papers on a table in your room. She didn't expect Kezia would have seen it, but she just asked her, you didn't see some papers, did you? And what did the girl answer? Oh yes, she said, I tore them up for my surprise. So she said, oh yes, I found them. I tore them up for my surprise. The surprise which I'm making for dad. What? Screamed mother. Mother was shocked. Such important papers and this girl has tore them up. Come straight down to the dining room this instant. From this we can actually surmise that she is also scared of her husband. She doesn't even ask the girl, why did you do that? What was the reason? She's not like that. She said, what? You did that? Come straight down. So you can see that mother is also not all that loving in this household. So this is the picture of the pin cushion, all right, where you stick some pins in. And she was dragged down. The mother just took hold of her hand and dragged her down. Dragged down to where father was pacing to and fro, hand behind his back. Well, he said sharply. Mother explained. He stopped and stared at the child. Did you do that? No, she whispered. Read it again. And she was dragged down to where father was pacing to and fro. He had lost his speech, remember, and he needed it. So he was walking up and down with his hands behind his back because he was so worried. Hand behind his back. Well, he said sharply, because he's so angry still. Mother explained. Mother told him what had happened, that this girl had torn them up. He stopped and stared at the child. He was so angry, he just stared, means glared, gave her a straight look at her. Did you do that? He asked her, did you do that? No, she whispered. She was so scared, she did not know what to say. She said, no. Mother, go up to her room and fetch down the damn thing. See that the child's put to bed this instant. Crying too much to explain, she lay in the shadowed room, watching the evening light, making a sad little pattern on the floor. Then father came into the room with a ruler in his hands. So the father is very, very angry. His beautiful speech, this girl has torn them up and stuffed into something. So he doesn't even bother to ask any other questions. He's just really, really furious. So he says, just go up to her room and fetch the damn thing. The damn thing is that pin cushion which that girl had lovingly and laboriously made. She asked her to bring that thing and see that the child is put to bed this instant. Take her up to the bedroom and put her to bed. Crying too much to explain. She was so upset. Kezia was so upset. She kept on crying. She could not even explain anything, and nobody was prepared to listen to her either. She lay in the shadowed room. That is in the room. It was evening, remember, and the light of the sunset was falling into the room. The evening light made a sad little pattern on the floor. So there was the pattern of the evening light on the floor. Then father came into the room with a ruler in his hands. So as you can see from the picture, the father comes into the room with a ruler in his hands. You know what it means, right? What's he going to do? We all can guess. Now let's go to quiz number 2. You have to pick the correct answers from the choices given. Number 1, Kezia made a pin cushion for her father because A, she loved him and wanted to give him a surprise. B, he needed it for his study table. C, her grandmother gave her the idea. So, read the 3 choices. Give you 2 seconds to write the answer. I'm sure you know the answer by now. Kezia made a pin cushion for her father because she loved him and wanted to give him a surprise. He needed it for his study table. Her grandmother gave her the idea. So, read all the choices. We know that she did not truly love him because she was always scared of him. So, that can't be the answer. He doesn't know whether he needed it or not, but we know that her grandmother suggested it to her. So, the answer is C. Her grandmother gave her the idea. His birthday is coming up next week. Why don't you make a pin cushion for your father? I'm sure you got it correct. The next one, Kezia's father wanted to punish her because he already had a pin cushion. That's A. B. He didn't love her. C. Kezia had unknowingly destroyed his important papers. So, Kezia's father wanted to punish her because he already had a pin cushion. B. He didn't love her. C. Kezia had unknowingly destroyed his important papers. And we know that it's not A and B. The answer is C. She did not know. She did not intentionally destroy his important papers. Out of ignorance, she just thought they were just scraps and she had destroyed them. So, the answer is C. That is what you mean by unknowingly. The next question. There was a hue and cry in the house because A. Father's great speech for the Port Authority had been lost. B. The servants had stolen the important papers. C. Kezia had torn up her father's important papers. So, there was a hue and cry in the house because everyone was in an uproar. Everyone was worried. Why? Father's great speech for the Port Authority had been lost. B. The servants had stolen the important papers. C. Kezia had torn up her father's important papers. So, very important to understand the question and write the answer. Many of you might select C, which is not correct. It is actually A. Why was the hue and cry there? Because the speech had been lost. Only later on it was discovered that she had torn up the important papers. I hope you all understood the story so far. We will continue in the next session. And that's it for today. Thank you, dear students, and Sai Ram.